Okay, I'm back. It's been a whirlwind of a time, so I haven't been filming anything and I haven't been reading anything. There was a portion of the month where I was reading only graphic novels that I previously read before, and then I moved on to graphic novels I had not read before. And then I went over to some books. Maybe I could just read some novels, and then I decided to read the biggest novel I own. I don't get it either. But that one I'm still in the middle of. That was Jade Legacy, if you are curious. But let's talk about what I did read over the months of July and August. First one I read was Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, the book that everybody read in July, so I'm behind on the times. But this is a book, if you don't know by now, like I went into this without knowing what this was about at all. I was like, oh, V.E. Schwab, oh, that's cool. She's got a new book. I'll read it. And then was completely blindsided by what this is about. If you don't know what this is about and you want to read this book, maybe skip ahead a little bit because I'm going to actually say what it's about. But everybody else does too in their videos, so I don't feel bad. If you haven't been spoiled for this yet, that's crazy. Go in blind. It's a lot more fun. But this is about 3 different timelines. They are 1532, 1827, and 2019. For the most part, you only get the 2019 and the 1532 timeline. And it has, at the beginning of the chapters, it has their death date, which I found really interesting. I was like, oh, these people are going to die. If you don't know, this book is about vampires. So yes, of course they die. That's just the date, the year that they get turned into a vampire. And so that really threw me for a loop. This book is about 3 different vampires at 3 different timelines, and you follow one, the main one, Maria, throughout her time in 1532. And this book really doesn't pull any punches. It's very brutal. There's a lot of killing. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of, what you would expect from a vampire novel. But I ended up giving this only 4 stars because, well, only. Most of my books fall in like 3.5 categories, so that's actually pretty good. I enjoyed it for the most part. I thought it was a little anticlimactic towards the end, where everything was resolved a little too easily, in my opinion. But I was along for the ride. I thought it was a little too long, but I think of that about a lot of books. So I know a lot of people had a lot of issues with this book. V.E. Schwab is not one of my favorite authors. I didn't really like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I know it's terrible to say on this channel, not on this channel, I don't know, on BookTube in general, because people love that book. But I thought I had kind of the same issues with that book as I did with this one. They were very similar in tone, and you follow an immortal being throughout the years. And so it gave kind of the same vibe, in my opinion. And so I think maybe that kind of vibe just isn't my thing. Because, I don't know, I got kind of sick of it after a while. I got kind of sick of the going through the years, I guess. I really liked in the beginning where you go between 1532 to 2019 because I liked the difference between the two and how different women are treated and how, in some ways, they are similarly treated as well by men. And so I really liked the juxtaposition between those 2 chapters when they were going back and forth. But the closer that we got from 1532 to 2019, it felt really repetitive. So that's my thought on that one. And then once I read that book, my life exploded. Not in a terrible way. My company that I work for was bought by another company. And so not only did we have to move spaces, but also had new coworkers. And I got moved to a new job in that company. And it was just too much change in too little amount of time. I'm still kind of whirling from it, but at least I'm reading for the most part. I don't want to go too far into it just because, it's not about books. So there's really no point of it being on here. But that's why I had an issue with reading. I didn't read for a couple of weeks, and then I moved on to graphic novels. So let's talk about the graphic novels that I read. Okay, the next one I read because there's been a lot of hype online, and there's been a lot of hype online with it, and I was really curious, and I don't have money to go to New York and see plays. So I ended up reading John Proctor's The Villain. Yeah, this is just the play. This is a story about a group of high school girls, and they are in an English class, and they form a feminist club of some sort. Simultaneously, they are reading The Crucible in their English class, and they kind of realize that John Proctor in that show, in that play, is not the greatest person, and maybe there's some feminist ideals that should be added to that play that kind of change the meaning behind it. And it's very much about the Me Too movement and the consequences of what happens when someone you know is being accused of things, and also on the other side when you are that person accusing somebody else of sexual harassment or certain things. I don't want to spoil anything, but I found this really good. It's very Gen Z, I think, is what it's supposed to be. Because it's high schoolers, they're all Gen Z these days, right? I don't know, I'm too old for that. But there's a lot of language in this that I found very funny. Like somebody was recounting their summer and ended it with, "And that's what you missed on Glee," which just a great meme drop. I don't know how relevant this is going to be in the future, just because I think a lot of the memes and stuff are not going to like hit as hard. But anyway, this is a really good play. I liked it a lot. I wish it was be turned into like a novel, because I think, or I would be able to see the play, just because I think it misses something in the writing. I think it would probably be better as a play than just reading it, which I don't think is what they intended. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's a really interesting concept, and it has a lot of really good, important points to it. So yeah, I think you should pick this up. I ended up giving it 4 stars. Yes. I've been reading Tilly Walden's books for a long time now, and I didn't realize that she had an autobiography. And so she is a comic book artist and writer. On a Sunbeam is my favorite of hers, and she's also recently released the Clementine books from The Walking Dead, but I don't like them very much. I don't think she does the character justice, but this is her autobiography called Spinning, where she was a competitive ice skater when she was younger, and kind of what that takes on to the toll it takes on a person to not only kind of know what you're supposed to be doing right as a kid, and also kind of how much you have to put into yourself, like how much of yourself you have to put into sports and things like that, which is something I can't relate to. But apparently she was pretty good. She did competitions and things like that, and put a lot of pressure on herself to succeed. And also around that time, she was also coming out. She was dealing with the fact that she was queer. So she's just kind of struggling with a lot as a little preteen. And this kind of goes through her journey when she started ice skating to when she decides to stop. I actually don't rate memoirs, just because I feel like it's not fair to put a number on somebody's life experience. Like I could on the technical version of how well it's done and things like that. Like the art style was good, that kind of thing. I do have a little bit of an issue with Tilly Walden's art style, just because sometimes it's hard to tell certain characters from one another, just because her art style doesn't really lend too much to that. There's not a lot of differentiation between the characters. So it can be difficult to read from time to time, but when it's a small group of characters, there's not a problem. But it kind of just made me want to read On a Sunbeam again. Okay, what I read next was all of Scott Pilgrim. I'm not going to go through them individually, just because I don't feel like it, and they all kind of blend together because I read them so quickly that I don't remember what happens individually in each book. Okay, Scott Pilgrim, if you don't know, is a graphic novel series that got turned into a movie, that got turned into a TV show, that got turned into a video game. It's a very popular franchise, and it is a story about a man named Scott Pilgrim. He's in his early 20s, and his life is kind of falling apart a little bit. He's in a shitty band. He's dating a high schooler. He got dumped by the love of his life, or that he thought was the love of his life, and kind of is just a shithead. And that's the point. He is, a lot of people think that you're supposed to be rooting for Scott Pilgrim, but the author himself has said that he is not a good guy. He is not the person to be rooting for. All of his friends tell him what a terrible person he is. He cheats on one person. He dates a high schooler, which in and of itself is not great. And he cheats. He forgets everything about every relationship he's ever been in. He treats people like trash. He's just not a great person. And then he meets this girl that he falls instantly in love with, and he discovers that she has 7 evil exes that he must defeat in order to date her. This is a reread for me. I have Ramona Flowers tattooed on my body. Um, I love this series. I think it's a lot of fun. I love the video game aspect of Scott Pilgrim and how it's kind of arcade style, the way it's written. And they really lean into that, into the movie and TV shows and that kind of thing. I also love all of the side characters. I think they're all wonderful. That's my rant. Okay, the next books that I read were part of another series. I didn't finish all of it just because I didn't feel like it. This is a reread for me. This is The Adventure Zone. This is based on a podcast by the McElroy brothers and their dad, and it's a D&D podcast, and so this is based off of their first campaign, the Balance campaign. And I'll just show you the first one. It follows Merle, Magnus, and Taco. Yes, his name is really Taco. And they do address how problematic that is later in the series. This is just a Dungeons and Dragons. This is a Dungeons and Dragons podcast turned into a book. They even have the Dungeon Master, Griffin, over there, who's kind of a side character. And they roll for stuff. They defeat goblins. They kill people. They do all kinds of things. It's a lot of fun. I gave all of them 4 stars. Just because if you listen to the podcast a lot, you'll find the same jokes in the book, but they'll be tweaked a little bit, and I find them a little bit less funny. I know that's really harsh, but just the original joke was so good that when they changed it, it made me miss the joke itself. And so I'm just like, oh, well, this is like a remake, but it's changed a little bit and changed just enough that I've listened to it enough that I know exactly where it was changed and how it was changed and what the original was like. But overall, they're really fun. They're really good. I think the 7th and final one is, I don't think they've announced when it's coming out because these have been coming out for years. But I'm really excited because my favorite character is going to actually show up in the last book. So finally, I've been waiting years. But yeah, if you just like a good time and you don't mind a lot of swearing, I would pick up that series. Okay, the next couple I got from the library, so I don't actually have a physical copy. I actually have 2 library books that I need, that I'm going to talk about later, that need to go back to the library pretty soon. But I read the first 2 books in the Witch Hat Atelier series, which is a story about a girl who really wants to be a witch, but it's something that I'm not even sure how you become a witch, but she kind of stumbles upon it. She sees her future mentor doing magic and kind of discovers how it's done. And because of that, she becomes a witch because he tells her, well, I either have to erase your memory or you have to become a witch. And she was like, yes, become a witch. And then she accidentally freezes her mom with a spell that she's not supposed to use. And yeah. It's a really interesting story because I liked all the side characters and all of the witches because they're all pretty young. I'm not sure how old she's supposed to be, but all of her and her friends are all really young. And in like book 2, they fight a dragon. So this book doesn't mess around when it comes to high stakes. And they're just cute little adventures, and there's like big stakes, but they find really wholesome ways to come together and defeat it with the power of friendship. That kind of thing. I gave them both 4 stars, which I think I gave everything I've read so far 4 stars, except for Scott Pilgrim, which is wild. It's crazy for me. But yeah, it's a really cute series, and it's about acceptance and friendship and all those cheesy things that come with children's manga. After that, I read The Cursed Princess Club, which was even cheesier. I read the first one. I think there's 3 out right now. My wife said that she's read them before, but it's basically 3 princesses who are supposed to get married off, and they're really upset about it, getting married off to these princes until they find out that the princes are really hot. And then they're really excited. But one of them is kind of goth. She's kind of like Samara from The Ring a little bit, but she's really nice and sweet and really good at baking and things like that. She just has a weird exterior, and rats and raccoons and stuff follow her around. And then she stumbles upon the Cursed Princess Club, which they think she's cursed, but she's not convinced she's actually cursed. I'm not actually sure. And yeah, she just wants this hot guy, to marry her, and the guy is not having it. It's really cheesy. It's kind of funny. It's got some humor to it. I ended up giving it 3 stars. I thought it was just a little too cheesy, and I mean, it's meant for young adults, I believe. So maybe it's just not for me. But yeah, it still had its moments that were really cute. Okay, we're almost to the end. I only have 3 more books to talk about, I promise. The next one I have to talk about is Two Twisted Crowns. He's old. Oh my goodness, I got that right. Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. This is the sequel to One Dark Window. I believe it's only a duology. Yeah, it's got to be a duology because it wraps it up pretty well at the end of the second book. I don't know how to talk about this book without talking about spoilers, because the entire premise is kind of a spoiler. So this one is pretty popular online, so I'm just going to tell you what the first one is about. This story takes place in a kingdom that there was an old king who created these cards. They're like tarot cards almost, that when you tap them, they give you magical powers, but if you use them for too long, they have detriments to them. There is this deadly mist around the kingdom that was created because of these cards, and in order to get the mist to go away, you have to reunite all the cards and kill someone. You have to spill some blood. And so the goal is to buy this one girl, and one of the princes is to go behind the king's back, get all of the cards, get rid of the mist, save the world. Wait. I forget. Oh, right. Her name is Elsbeth, which I think is very fun and fantasy. And then Raven with a Y is the boy, and it's a romantasy. In the first one, I liked the romance in the first one, and in the second one, it's different. I can't tell you why, but the romance is not quite the same, and I still found it very entertaining. I still really liked the book. I gave it 4 stars. I really was invested in the story and in the romance, honestly, which is pretty rare for me. So yeah, I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I think it wrapped up things pretty nicely. But I don't know, there's just something about it that wasn't 5 stars for me. So the next book I read was Their Vicious Games by Joelle Wellington. This is a story about a yearly competition that happens at this rich family's place that is supposed to help a person basically get an advantage, or go to any school they want, basically be friends of this rich people's family, and this rich family, and basically has all these doors open for them. And this is supposed to be some games of like etiquette and how to be the perfect rich person. But this year, things turn deadly. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. Sometimes the games are actually deadly, and that's not something they tell you going in, but it's a rich family, so, what do you expect? They don't care. So it's a whole bunch of girls. I believe there's like 12 of them or something. I can't remember how many girls there are, but they're all here to compete for this. This basically, it's kind of like a scholarship sort of thing. Like, you can go to any school you want to if you're friends of these rich people. And the main character, Adina, is one of them. She had a scholarship to go to Yale, but ended up getting into a fight with a racist girl at her school and had that scholarship revoked, even though, let's be real, she didn't deserve it. That girl was an asshole and deserved to be punched in the face. So she is now competing with all of these rest of these girls in order to try and get her spot back at Yale. And she's also kind of friends with the 2 sons that are part of this rich family. And yeah, she's there to compete, and then people start murdering each other. And then this book I find pretty mellow because it's a young adult thriller. And then towards the end, things just go nuts. Things just really ramp up in the last like 20 pages, and it's crazy. Overall, I gave this 4 stars. I thought it was a lot of fun and really interesting. And yeah. Is there anything else I want to say about this book? I think it's really good. I was kind of surprised that the 2 main girls didn't end up together because they should have. They were a cute couple. They should have been a couple. Last book I read was Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stevens. Not Stevens. I was surprised to find this at the library because I thought this was a pretty popular book that came out not that long ago. But no, there it was. I guess people are not as interested as I thought they were. This is a story about a couple who are destined to kill each other in every lifetime. And one of them remembers everything. His name is Arden. Can't believe I forgot that name. His name is Arden. He remembers everything from all their past lives. And then Evelyn, Evelyn remembers some things from their past lives, but not really. And for the most part, he kills her. And he won't tell her why, which I think is pretty shitty. But she's pretty fond of her sister and in the timeline that she's in, or in the life that she's in. And she knows that if she dies before she turns 18, which it's always before she turns 18 that they die, her sister will also die because she's been getting blood transfusions and marrow transfusions and stuff because her sister is sick. So she knows that if she dies, her sister will die as well. And so she's desperate to try and convince Arden to not kill her in this lifetime because she needs to save her sister as well. And this story goes between the present day, or I guess like 2019 or something like that, 2020, and between that and their past lives. And you kind of get little bits and pieces of what happened and why he has to kill her, or even sometimes why she kills him. This book does not shy away from queer stories. Like, they will be both girls, both boys, boy or girl, sometimes someone in between, a gender non-determined. She uses she, her pronouns, but doesn't really identify as a man or a woman. And so I really like that about this book. And I liked seeing the different, because it never takes place in the same area of the world. It takes place in all these different countries. And so there's a lot of different cultures. I don't know how accurate any of the historical cultures are. Like, I don't know how much research she did about these, because I'm not well versed. But I found it really interesting to be in those different areas. I felt that it got kind of redundant because it would be like, oh, there they are. They're instantly in love. Oh, he kills her. And also, I was not a fan of this ending. I didn't like the twist. I didn't like the reason why he was killing her. I didn't understand why he would bother not telling her. And so I was not a fan of the ending. I thought it was really cheesy. And I also didn't really believe that they were in love. Like, she just felt this instant connection with him every single time she met him and was like, oh, there's the man I love. But you never actually see them fall in love. And so it was not very believable. So I gave this book 2 stars, which is sad because it's a pretty book and it's an interesting concept, but it just really wasn't my thing in the end. Okay, now that we've gone through the books that I have read in the month of July and August, let's talk about what I'm going to read in September. I know, darling. First of all, I am in the middle of the book I mentioned earlier. That was the biggest book I own. That was, for some reason, the book I decided to read during my reading slump, is Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. This is a book, the third in a trilogy about also, that's how big it is. This is the third in a trilogy where it's about one family that owns most or half of a city, basically, because they have jade. Jade is where you get magic from, and they are one of the clans that have the most jade, them and another clan. And so there's a war between them, and there's a war between the countries. There's all this different fighting going on, and it's really good. It's very politic heavy. So if you're really into politics, I'd pick up this book series. It also does have a lot of action scenes in it, not as much as they seem to make you think on the back of the book, because some of them says nonstop action. That's not true. But it's pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot. Also reading Welcome to the Hunam Dung Bookshop. Oh my god, Hunam Dung Bookshop. This is a cozy international Korean book that is about a girl who is sick of her life and kind of doesn't really know what she wants to do with her life. So she opens a bookshop. And it kind of just goes from there. It's just very cute and wholesome. And she hires somebody to help make the coffee. And she has all these people come in that she talks to. And it's just cute. I'm not very far in by now. Two other books that I don't really know too much about. Let me put them here. This book card is going to collapse one of these days. The first one is As You Wish by Lisa Cross Smith. I came across this one at Barnes & Noble the other day, and it has to do with three friends, and they're in Seoul, and they find a way to make a wish, and they wish for different things, and I guess those wishes come true. Yeah, I think that's the general idea. And then a book that I've been waiting for, not because I never read the actual book, but it came out in graphic novel form, and I was like, well, why not read the graphic novel? And that is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. Maybe? They never have The Raven Boys at the library, and I've been wanting to read them, so I figured I'd just get the graphic novel. Why not? This is the first book. It just came out too, and I'm excited to read it. Okay, I think that's it. I think that's all I have to go for to do. Can you tell it's been a while since I've done this? I did film a video about romance stuff that I really like because I'm such a romance book hater, but I haven't edited it yet. So we'll see if I ever bring that out because it's mostly stuff from like 2005. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.